Okay, guys, in this video, I want to go ahead and give you a walkthrough of the syllabus. So you can access it over here on the left side in the syllabus tab. Go ahead and pop into here. So you'll see we'll be using a working syllabus throughout the semester. I have this editable Google Doc, mainly because there's always points throughout the semester where we need to update a little something here and there. And if that happens to happen, I want to be able to do so without having to create new files and then you having to keep up with which one's the old one, which one's the new one, and getting confused. It's all simply right here in the same place. So we can see here, I've added a note that our syllabus serves as our class constitution, okay? This is the framework, the guidelines for what you can expect from this class, what you can expect from me, and what I expect from you. And like the US Constitution, it is amendable and subject to change, all right? So as needs arise and we need to go in and amend this thing, we certainly can. But perhaps I shouldn't use the word we so loosely, because notice these asterisks here. Let's scroll on to the bottom and read the fine print. You will notice that this thing does not create a democratic republic the way that the US Constitution does. It creates a dictatorship under me, and I'm the only one who can amend this thing. So, with that being said, any changes I make, I will let you know about ASAP, and they will be to your advantage. Okay, so I'm not just going to go piling a bunch of work on you. For example, it would be more likely that I'm letting you guys know, hey, we're going to push this exam back a little bit so we have more time for you to prepare, something like that. Okay, I want to make sure that we can amend it as necessary. All right, so let's take a look here. Office hours, I have some times listed here. Monday 3 to 5, Wednesday 3 to 5, Friday 2 to 3. I certainly can be available other times. I can meet either via Zoom or in person. If you really want to meet in person and none of these times work, I'm asking you to just email me your availability for the week you'd like to meet, and I'll see when I can be available for you. Please do not hesitate to let me know when you'd like to meet, if you'd like to meet, if you have questions, you just want to talk some things over. I'm always glad to meet, whether it's on Zoom or in person. But here's some hours I definitely will be available throughout the semester. Again, if those don't work, just email me. We'll see what we can do. One thing I do need to stress is that these office hours are by appointment, okay? So you need to request an appointment over email. I'll make sure to be available for you during that time, whether you request to meet in person or via Zoom. I should have given you a heads up, by the way. I'm going to go through the rest of this. I'm going to kind of jump around a bit. I'm not going to go over every single word of this thing. That is one big responsibility that we have as college students, is being familiar with our course syllabus. So if you guys want to review any of this more in depth, please take the time to do so. I'm just trying to hit some of the main points with you here, okay? Student learning outcomes. Definitely want you guys to be familiar with these. I'd like you by the end of the semester to be able to analyze key events, figures, and historiographical trends that have shaped American history, to recognize and evaluate connections across diverse cultures and events in American history, and to demonstrate critical thinking and an ability to interpret historical evidence through reading responses, written discussions, and well-constructed, thoughtful essays. We'll discuss each of those a bit more as we come across them throughout the semester. In terms of required materials and text, you do not need to purchase any textbooks for this class. I know there may have been some confusion about that at some point as Canvas sections were being thrown from professor to professor. So please, for the love of God, if you have purchased a textbook, go get your money back as soon as you can. You will not need that for this class. The only thing I do require you to have is some means of taking notes, whether you prefer to take your notes right on your device that you're accessing this from, or if you want to have a notebook, whatever, have a means of taking notes. Make sure you're taking notes as you follow along with video lectures, okay? Don't just assume you're going to retain all the information. That's not an effective way to learn. Please take the notes. You'll see that I set up outlines to really help you with that. All you're basically doing is filling in blanks. Take advantage of that, okay? You do have a couple optional resources here you can look at if you choose to. Please keep in mind these are strictly supplemental. These are not anything I'm requiring you to read, and they may not actually cover the content exactly as I'm presenting it. This is more if you're struggling to understand a certain concept and you want to look at a different perspective of it or a different person's overview of it, or if you're interested in a topic and you want to look a little more into it, here's a couple places you can get started. Okay, we got Crash Course US History, which is a great YouTube channel, and then you've got the American Yacht, which is a free online history textbook. Please be careful with these though, because not all the material from these is what I'm looking for class. And on that note, this will be the first of several times throughout the semester I'll bring this up. When you're responding to anything for this class, you need to please be sure that you're only using assigned class sources for the basis of your responses, okay? Because any responses that do not reflect information coming from class sources will not receive credit, okay? So if you start dropping all kinds of information that wasn't covered in class sources while missing the main points that were covered in class sources, you're not going to get credit, all right? And when it gets comes time to exams, if that happens on your essays, that's going to result in an automatic 50% on the exam. I'm being as straightforward about this as I can up front so that nobody should be surprised if that happens, but hopefully we don't even have to worry about that, okay? There are reasons for that, but please understand this is not because I want to limit you at all. If you're interested in a topic and want to look in it more than we get to cover in this class, we are having a survey class here where we're moving pretty quickly across a bunch of content. If you want to learn more about any particular topic, please have at it. You have all kinds of resources at your disposal. You have the whole World Wide Web. I provided you a couple places here you can start looking into a little more. You can meet me during office hours. I can help recommend some places you can look at more sources and more information that might get you going on a topic you're more interested in. Please, I do not want to restrict you by any means. All I'm saying is when it comes time to respond to anything for our class, it needs to be based on class sources. All right, let's cover grading here. Pretty straightforward. A's are 90 to 100, B's 80 to 89, C's 70 to 79, D 60 to 69, F 59 or below. That's going to be standard throughout the university for all the classes you take. We have a few different types of assignments here. We'll have lecture activities that are 20% of your overall course grade. These will be linked to various lectures. You'll see notes on the lecture or in the module for lecture activities of when you need to complete these. In some cases, you'll need to complete them before you start the video lecture. In others, you'll complete them at some point during the video lecture. Just look out for notes on that and make sure you're getting them knocked out by the deadline. Please note that none of these will be accepted after the deadline for any reason, okay? And that's going to be the case pretty much for all of the work in our class. I'm not really going to be accepting late work, okay? Because I don't want anything to snowball on anybody and we need to keep moving forward. Now, that being said, I understand we do have circumstances sometimes that come up that are beyond our control. And sometimes, hell, we just need to take a little break and miss one or two throughout the semester. I understand. Please note that your 3 lowest of these scores will not count toward your final grade, all right? You'll still see them in the grade book, but they won't weigh into your final grade. And that's in consideration of the fact that things come up that we don't expect. You know, you never know when you're going to run into hard times throughout the semester, or if you just need a break because you're overwhelmed, or you got to go study for this other test, this and that. Don't ever feel like you need to come explain that to me. It's okay. I've already built in for you to have a little insurance there. You got 3 of your lowest ones being dropped. Now, that being said, if you're going through extenuating circumstances and you're really struggling to keep up with class, please let me know as soon as possible so we can work out some kind of arrangement as necessary. Perhaps get you in touch with the Office of Care and Assistance if necessary. Please don't mistake any of this for meaning that I don't care about you. That is not the case at all. I want you to have the support you need, which is why I'm saying I've tried to build this to where you don't have to worry about in your difficult times coming and explaining to me, unless it's an extenuating circumstance that you feel like you could use support in. I don't want you to have to trouble yourself is what I'm getting at. Because I've already built it in for you to have 3 of these not counting toward your final average, all right? Okay, same thing happens here for your reading video response quizzes. These will be assigned most weeks. They'll be due on Sundays, usually by 11:59, unless I tell you otherwise. The goal is to kind of have these completed by the week we're looking at, all right? So your first one will be the week 2 reading video quiz. So you'll need to have that completed by the first class day of week 2. That way you've got that content available for whatever we're working on during week 2 that might be related to some of the things you were looking at in that reading video quiz. Again, none of these will be accepted late, past the deadline for any reason, but again, your 3 lowest of these will not count toward your overall grade. I understand we can't always get them all knocked out. I consider that here for you already, okay? Also, note that on both of these, and really on all these assignments, once again, I'm making that point, any information gathered from outside of class sources will not receive credit, all right? So please stay within class sources. And then you'll have content quizzes. These are kind of your big quizzes leading up to the exams. These are essentially a preview of the exam. You'll see some of the exact questions that might show up on the exam. These will be completed on Canvas. I'll cover a bit more about these as we get closer to them, but these will include some kind of fill in the blank type ID terms where you're going to write out a little bit, basically short answer type responses, and then some matching as well. Again, not accepted past the deadline. Those you just got to knock out. All right. You'll have 3 of these throughout the semester, and they'll give you a good preview of what to expect for your exam. And then your exams will build on those content quizzes. Okay. They'll have some of that same type of content matching the ID term, fill in the blank, short answer type questions, and then essay questions as well. And for the essay questions, you'll have a whole list and you're going to choose from one. The terms you'll see also, you're going to have some to choose from. We'll look at that all more moving forward, the actual logistics of the exam. So don't worry about that too much yet. I'll make sure we get that all covered in another video. But generally, you'll have 3 exams throughout the semester. And please notice how I weighted these, okay? They're 45% of your overall course grade. So that's pretty high. It's definitely substantial. You want to make sure to do well on these. But I've made sure that this is not the only key factor you have to be stressing about, all right? That's not even 50% of your grade, because I want you to be focused on all the other stuff as well, not just blowing that all off, worrying and stressing over the exam, because it's all this other stuff that's going to help you succeed on the exam, okay? I'll make sure you always have review guides in advance for your exam that will have the exact content you need to know for your exam, okay? So we're talking about the exact ID terms and matching terms that you might see on here, you'll know ahead of time, as well as your essay questions. So you can be preparing for all that well in advance. But I've weighted these in a way to help you out as well. The first exam's only worth 10%. The next one's a little higher, 15%. The final one's 20%. And the goal there is, as you're going through the class, getting more comfortable with the class, scores are counting a little higher, right? So that if you're trying to figure things out, you're stressed, you're struggling, and you bomb the first exam perhaps, it's not the end of the world. You still have plenty of opportunity to raise your grade up moving forward. And as you're getting more comfortable with things, you're getting more opportunity to get a higher weight. Again, no exams will be accepted past the deadline. You're gonna have 24 hours to knock these things out. That should be substantial time. Again, you'll have had plenty of time in advance to start working with the content you need. All you're doing by the time you get the exam is going and plugging it all in. Make sure you get this in by the deadline. No exceptions there. All right, course policies. I'm only really going to cover one here. All right. And that is the general policy of respect. Everything else falls under that. All right. You guys can read through the rest of these. I'd recommend you do so, just so you're kind of familiar with the little nitpickies. But you'll notice that they all fall under this here, okay? So we're all adults in this class, all right? I understand not everybody here is going to treat you like an adult. A lot of people are going to condescend to you and treat you like a child. I will do my best to respect you on even ground as adults. I know you all had experiences that have brought you to where you are. They're very real. I know you guys have a lot on the line that a lot of people kind of forget that people at your age have on the line. I'm absolutely aware of that, and I'm going to respect you in that way. And I respect the same in return to me and to our other classmates, okay? So let's just all be respectful to ourselves and to each other at all times. And all these other policies will fall in line, okay? That comes to things like respecting deadlines, respecting each other's time, being respectful of expectations that I've placed. Make sure you're keeping up with those things. I'm going to hold you accountable as an adult in the same way I respect you as an adult. And I expect you to respect me in turn. And if necessary, give me some respectful professional communication if there's something that we need to discuss together to kind of make an accommodation, etc. Okay. I also do want to point out, if you are ever concerned about anything going on in class, please do not hesitate to contact me. Make a plan to meet with me for office hours. We can take a look at what's going on, see what you can do moving forward to get things together. Again, don't expect that I'm going to give you a lot of just makeup work, but we can certainly consider maybe doing some replacement grades or weighting things if there are extenuating circumstances we need to consider. And definitely a bigger concern is getting in touch with any campus resources that you might find helpful if necessary. All right, you also do have a breakdown here of our course schedule. This will possibly be amended as we're moving forward. We'll see. I'm going to do my best to stick with this as closely as I can. But there's usually things that pop up kind of we don't expect. Maybe something will take a little longer than we thought. And as necessary, we can adjust this thing That's really the main reason I've kept this amendable. Last thing I want you to notice on here is I have added some resources that I'd like you guys to just be familiar with. You do have your disabilities accommodations here. If you think that at all you might possibly benefit from having some kind of accommodations, please understand that that's something that's there to help you. Please take advantage of that. Okay. I'm not going to get all into it, but long story short, there was a time when I was an undergrad that there was a class where I'd always make A's, and then I took that same professor for another class the next semester. And on our first exam, we had to write 2 essays in one class period, and I just straight ran out of time. And as a result, I made an F on my exam. And after that, I went and sought some accommodations because I realized I was getting distracted, getting too caught up in organizing my outline and my notes. And I just needed a little more time. And I realized this all was kind of linked to my ADD, and I was able to get extended time. And after that, I made all A's on all exams moving forward. Okay, so avoid yourself that struggle if possible. If you feel like you could benefit from having any kind of accommodations, please reach out to these people here. They're great people and they do want to help you. Okay. Same with the University Counseling Center. They have talk therapy. They have all kinds of group activities and things they organize. You can check out their website. You can just Google TAMU CC Counseling. But if you want to set up an appointment with them, you have a phone number here. They do also always have a counselor on duty if you're really going through a really hard time, maybe facing crisis or something like that. Not an emergency crisis, of course. You can contact them here any time of day, and they'll have somebody get in touch with you to talk. Okay. One other resource I do want to point out is Izzy's Food Pantry. Please, guys, don't hesitate to take advantage of this. I know there's this big stigma around accepting food that you didn't earn or work for. But if you feel that way at all, please understand you've already paid to have this resource available for you. So you've essentially paid to have that food there. Okay, so let any guilt trip you might have about, God forbid, feeding yourself, if you could save a little money, go do this because you've already paid for it to be there. Okay, this is included in your student service fees. And a lot of times when I recommend this service to students, they say, oh, well, I'm not struggling for food. I say, yeah, but you're telling me you're struggling for bills and whatever else. You could save a little money by not spending money on food and put that toward whatever you need by taking advantage of this here. Okay, so please consider getting in touch with them as well. They're very helpful, and depending on what resources they have available at what time, you can get some really good stuff there. Okay. If you guys have any other questions about any of this other stuff covered on here, or anything not covered on here, whether it's now or throughout the semester, please stay in touch. I'm looking forward to working with you guys this semester. I'm your guy if you got any questions. Otherwise, y'all have a great day.